At SummerSlam 2025, the Bloodline didn't just break. It was blown to smithereens. The man holding the detonator was the one Roman Reigns was finally starting to trust again. His own cousin, The Rock. In one of the most stunning, gut-wrenching turns in WWE history, The Rock ambushed Roman, shattered their family, and declared himself the one and only head of the table. The era of acknowledging the tribal chief is over. If you want to see how this unbelievable betrayal went down, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. To really get the shock of what happened at SummerSlam, you have to rewind, because this wasn't just a random attack. It was the final move in a chess game years in the making. Roman Reigns has been on a wild journey. After the original Bloodline fell apart, thanks in large part to the epic betrayal by his wise man, Paul Heyman, at WrestleMania 41, Roman was a different guy. Heyman's turn was a bombshell. At WrestleMania 41, he chose to side with Seth Rollins, torpedoing his long partnership with Reigns and leaving the tribal chief all alone. In the months that followed, Heyman didn't just disappear, he started building a new machine. He took on the powerhouse duo of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, creating a dangerous new force on Monday Night Raw. This new crew seemed to have one goal: to destroy what was left of the Bloodline. While Roman took some time off to deal with the fallout, Jey Uso was left to fight off Heyman's new monsters alone. After a brutal beatdown on the July 14th episode of Raw, Roman made his explosive return. But this wasn't the tyrant tribal chief. This was family. He saved Jey, and they agreed to team up and stand together. That decision set the stage for SummerSlam. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso taking on Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Going into the match, the big question was all about Jey. After everything he'd been through, could he really trust Roman again? Was another backstab on the way? Well, SummerSlam seemed to answer that. In a critical moment, Roman took a spear for Jey, a selfless act the old Roman would have never made. Fired up, Jey hit a spear and an Uso splash to get the win for their team. For a second, it was the perfect feel-good story. Family, reunited and victorious. But that feeling was just the calm before a storm nobody saw coming. So the big question, why? Why would The Rock turn on his family, especially at a moment like that? To get inside the head of the final boss, you have to understand that this move was built on power, ego, and a long-game strategy that's been in the works for over a year. First, let's talk about real-world power. When The Rock returned to WWE, it wasn't just as a performer. In early 2024, Dwayne Johnson was appointed to the board of directors of TKO Group Holdings, WWE's parent company. That's not a storyline. That's real corporate power. From that point on, The Rock wasn't just a superstar, he was literally one of the bosses. His heel turn earlier in the year was reportedly seen by WWE officials as a blessing in disguise, because it opened the door for a much bigger, more complicated story. He was playing the long game, and the prize is total control. Second, you have the massive ego of the Great One. Roman Reigns built his entire kingdom on being the head of the table, the tribal chief of the Anoa'i dynasty. But let's be real, in the eyes of the world, and probably in The Rock's eyes too, there's always been a bigger star in that family. The Rock was never going to be a side character in Roman's story. He's the final boss, and a final boss doesn't acknowledge anyone else. He saw Roman's vulnerability, losing his championship, needing Jey's help, as weakness. It was the perfect time to strike and take the title he probably felt was his all along. And third, you have the rumors that have been swirling for months. Some have suggested a hidden connection between The Rock and the new forces Paul Heyman was gathering. Was Heyman's betrayal at WrestleMania 41 just about siding with Seth Rollins, or was it step one of a bigger plan? After Rollins was sidelined with an injury, Heyman would have needed a new, more powerful meal ticket. Who better than the man on the TKO board? The Rock's absence was tactical, letting things boil over before he made his move. He even sent out cryptic warnings like an Instagram message in late July telling Roman to choose wisely, a message that now feels like a test. The ambush, how it all went down. All right, let's go to the scene of the crime. MetLife Stadium, SummerSlam. Roman and Jay are in the ring, celebrating a hard-fought win. They went through a war with Breakker and Reed and came out on top together. The Yeet movement is alive. The crowd is a sea of electricity, and Roman actually looks happy. He's standing with his cousin not as a chief, but as a brother. And then, the glass shatters. "If ye smell!" The entire stadium comes unglued in a single deafening roar. The Rock is here. He walks out, not in a suit, but in his workout gear, looking like he just came from the Iron Paradise. He has a mic in his hand and an ice-cold, unreadable look on his face. He soaks in the roar, letting the energy build. Roman and Jay look confused, but a glimmer of excitement cuts through. Is he here to celebrate with them, to finally endorse the reunited Bloodline? The Rock hits the ring and stands face-to-face with Roman. The air crackles. He raises the microphone, and then just drops it to the mat with a loud thud. He extends his hand to Roman as a sign of respect. Roman, after a moment's hesitation, breaks into a genuine, relieved smile and reaches out to shake it. And that's when the world stopped. In a horrifying flash, The Rock yanks Roman in. The moment seems to stretch into slow motion as a million camera flashes go off, illuminating the look of confusion on Roman's face before he's brutally planted with a rock bottom. The roar from 80,000 people dies instantly, replaced by a collective horrified gasp that echoes through the stadium. Jay is frozen in the corner, his mind refusing to accept what his eyes just saw. He starts to move toward The Rock, but before he can, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed slide back into the ring, blindsiding him. They hold Jay, forcing him to watch as The Rock looms over his fallen cousin. Roman lies on the mat, his eyes wide not just with shock, but with a deep, shattering heartbreak. It's an emotional breakdown in the middle of the ring. To make it all sink in, Paul Heyman walks slowly down the ramp, a wicked, triumphant smile spreading across his face. The Rock hauls Roman's limp body up. Roman's face is a mask of pure betrayal as he's hit with a second devastating rock bottom. The Rock then turns to Jay, who's still fighting against his attackers, and lays him out with a single cold-blooded punch. He rips the Ula Fala, the sacred symbol of the tribal chief, from around Roman's neck. He holds it high for the world to see as Heyman stands beside him, raising his hand in victory. SummerSlam faded to black on that image, a terrifying new faction, with The Rock at its head, flanked by his enforcers and guided by the wise man who now serves a new master. The betrayal at SummerSlam did more than end a match. It kicked off a civil war. The WWE Universe has been thrown into absolute chaos. Roman Reigns, the man who ruled for years with an iron fist, is now the victim. A sympathetic, broken figure betrayed by his own blood. His redemption story with Jay was cut short in the cruelest way possible, positioning him not as a tyrant, but as a potential underdog hero for the first time in years. The Rock, on the other hand, is now the biggest villain in the industry. This wasn't just a heel turn, it was a hostile takeover. By aligning with Heyman, Breakker, and Reed, he now controls the most dominant crew in the company. His goal is crystal clear: erase Roman's legacy and establish his own reign as the one true head of the table for the entire industry. This leaves Jey Uso at a massive crossroads. He chose loyalty, and all he got was a punch in the face while being forced to watch his family implode again. Does he stick with a shattered Roman and fight back against impossible odds? Or does the endless family drama finally push him away for good, letting him focus on his own career and the World Heavyweight Championship? The whole power structure of WWE has been turned on its head. We now have two warring factions of the same family, forcing people like Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and the Usos to pick a side. This is more than a storyline. It's a saga about loyalty, betrayal, and the fight for the soul of the Anoa'i dynasty. The stage is now set for the dream match we've all been waiting for. The Rock versus Roman Reigns, but with the roles completely and tragically flipped. The Rock's master plan has officially begun, and the battle for the bloodline is just getting started. So here's the biggest question. Will fans get behind The Rock as WWE's newest top villain? Or will they rally behind a betrayed and broken Roman Reigns, completing his journey to becoming the hero of this story? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns on WWE's biggest stories.